Students, teachers and staff should expect to wear masks when schools reopen. They also will need to maintain social distancing on campus and on school buses. And at least some of the instruction will be offered online, not in a classroom. These are some of the recommendations that California State Superintendent of Schools Tony Thurmond says will be part of the state's guidelines for local school officials to use as they make plans to open their districts in the 2020-21 school year. Though Thurmond didn't offer those guidelines during a Facebook Live chat on Wednesday, he said they are coming in early June, perhaps as soon as next week. He also mentioned some other details: temperature checks for students and staff, and so-called blended education, meaning a mix of in-person and online instruction. State education leaders and officials with local agencies such as the Orange County Department of Education still are waiting on state health officials to weigh in before releasing their own recommendations on what schools need to do when they reopen. But even when state guidelines come out, each district will be in charge of setting its own policies, meaning school districts will make their own rules and school could look different for students, parents and teachers depending on their district. The only edicts that school districts are legally required to follow include orders from Governor Gavin Newsom or rules under the state's education code. Meanwhile, the Los Angeles County Department of Education on Tuesday released its framework for reopening. The guidelines in LA will include mandatory cloth face masks for all, limiting classrooms to 16 students and one-way hallways. Schools in the area also could stagger the use of things like restrooms and the playground. Each district will customize a plan that will make sense for them, said Al Miyares, superintendent of the Orange County Department of Education. Not every district is happy to include face coverings and social distancing, two rules that health officials have insisted upon in other areas of public life. A letter sent last week from the superintendents of 11 districts in Los Angeles County to Newsom spelled out their objections. While many of these proposed guidelines may be feasible in a hospital setting or a commercial business setting, we do not believe they are feasible or practical in a school setting, the superintendents wrote. To think that children would wear face coverings for 8 hours a day is unimaginable, they wrote. They also protested the suggestion that an entire class of students should be quarantined for 14 days if one of them tests positive. This policy would make it almost impossible to return to school. Rather than quarantining the person who tests positive, and those likely in contact, this policy would apply a blanket approach that would cripple any hopes of in-person instruction.